At Lowe's, before the holidays is the perfect time for upgrades and upkeep. During Black Friday, get up to 50% off select major appliances and buy more to save more with up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Plus, grab select DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kits for just $99. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/3. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Kevin Harlan here. This Friday, the NBA on Prime crew and I are back with another spectacular NBA on Prime doubleheader. It starts with a legendary rivalry as Luka Doncic and the Lakers take on Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics. Then Cooper Flagg and the Mavs meet SGA and the Thunder. If you're not a Prime member, just sign up for a free 30-day trial. Lakers Celtics, Mavs Thunder. Coverage starts Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
This is Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the Funbelt Podcast.
This is the Funbelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Folks, to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Hey guys, welcome back to Funbelt Podcast. It's been a while. Shane Metlin's been out. Tibbs has been out. Jeremy Harper, I have been out. Let me tell you something, though. We didn't do a broadcast last week. We decided not to do it, right? Just sort of collect, like, we didn't even use words. We just kind of mentally did that. I think part of it was because of the holiday. It's Thanksgiving time. It's a mess. But also, by God, I needed a mental health break. Tibbs, do you know what I'm saying? I needed some time away from this chaotic, unpredictable, sometimes disappointing college football season. Tibbs, were you with me on that?
Jeremy, what was your team's record?
6-6.
And I think you stole my line. You're reading ahead on the script there, Jeremy. You're not sticking to your lines.
Is that our script? My God, it's not been approved. I'm just saying that it's been a rough year, Tibbs. It's been hard. Shane Metlin, maybe not so much. Championship year going on in the out east at James Madison. How's the mood in James Madison? Let's not talk about the coaching change at the moment. Let's just talk about the upcoming big game against Troy.
I think the mood's pretty good for that. I think, they're going in as about a 3-touchdown favorite, which seems a little extreme for a championship game. I don't know about that. Like Troy has been pretty good this year. So I don't know that it's going to be cold in Harrisonburg on Friday night, like freezing temperatures.
Nice.
But they've already sold 8,000 student tickets.
Oh.
Yeah. So it should be a good atmosphere. I think the students are going to be jacked up and, maybe full of Jack Daniels to stay warm and enthusiastic. And so I think it'll be a pretty good atmosphere for a championship game. And people are looking forward to it. This is one, if you think back to it, JMU fans maybe can be a little bit obnoxious at times.
Sure. Why not?
A little bit. Air
you
quotes.
Think back to their first 2 years in the Sun Belt, Troy wins the conference championship without playing JMU in the championship game, even though they finished top of the standings. So, JMU fans maybe used the word asterisk a few times about Troy's championships. I think it's appropriate and should be really fun that we get these two teams this year to go at it. And, maybe Troy pulls off a little bit of an upset to balance out that obnoxiousness that maybe has come out of Harrisonburg a time or two over the past 4 years.
Well, Dusty, I mean, let's face it. Shane's talking possibility of an upset, and this would be the territory that Troy has mined all year. They come in kind of with no chance at the start of the year to win. It's kind of a rebuild year under Jared Parker. They start off slow. They end up winning a few games. But Southern Miss looks unstoppable. And then what happened, Dusty? What the hell happened?
Reality set in. And it didn't hurt their chances also that Southern Miss just absolutely shit the bed late in the year.
They did.
Because they relied so heavily on Braylon Braxton that when he wasn't there, we saw the Old Miss offense showed up out of nowhere in Hattiesburg. The old Southern Miss offense, more like it, showed up, that they were just really inept and unable to move the ball.
Yeah, unable to move the ball, kind of uninspired, which was a little strange. Troy, Arkansas State comes into Troy and sort of just stomps on Troy's marshmallows. And I thought they were done. And instead, Troy took that almost like, hey, this is a wake-up call for us. Rips off a bunch of wins. They've got two quarterbacks now with Goose Crowder and Tucker Kilcrease out there. Either one of them fully capable of leading them down the field. They go into Southern Miss. What did they win by, Tibbs? 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, it was a straight whooping.
It was a straight whooping. It wasn't like, they squeaked in. Troy's been there before and done that. So, Shane, I don't know if Troy has a chance against JMU. JMU seems to be playing lights out in every facet of the game. I don't know if Troy has that, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be a good game. I think JMU deserves to have that big number next to them by their odds. But I think it could become, Shane, a good game.
Yeah, I think Troy's capable of making it a good game. Just because they've been solid on defense, really for years, and that didn't really change even with John Summerall leaving. And it's one of those things too. It's going to be cold in Harrisonburg on Friday night. I don't know if that could end up being a factor. The ball sometimes gets harder to hold on to, harder to catch, things like that. Turnovers maybe become a factor. The kicking game maybe becomes like more a factor than you think it is, because kicking a frozen football is not an easy thing to do. So, we'll see if that all ends up playing a role. I think JMU is the better team, and if they bring their A game, they're going to win a Sun Belt championship. But you just never know how these things are going to go. Not to even mention the other X factor that I'm sure we're going to discuss at length here in a little while.
Yes, we know what that X factor is, and we will discuss that at length in a little while. But I hate to put you on the spot, Shane, but do you have the nuts and bolts deets of the game?
What do you mean?
Time, venue, broadcast.
It's Friday night.
Okay.
ESPN. It'll be 7 p.m. local time here in the Shenandoah Valley. That's Eastern time. So I guess 6 o'clock in America's time, as we like to say here.
A God's time is what we call it. Yes.
Yeah. So those are the main deets. Tickets still for sale.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So we'll be looking forward to that. You were talking about moving on just a little bit, but you talk about
name of the game is because it's got like 17 different sponsors. But
okay. Yeah. Do you want to list all the sponsors, Shane?
Let's see. See.
No free plugs here.
Oh yeah. What the hell are we doing? We got pride. We have some self-respect. Give us the weirdest sponsor. I want the weirdest sponsor.
It's actually not that many sponsors. I'm pulling it up, but it's a mouthful. For the 2025 Credit Union 1 Sun Belt Football Championship presented by Visit Pensacola.
Because nothing says visit Pensacola like the Shenandoah Valley.
Like a 31-degree night in the mountains. Yes.
Are we wearing patches that say all that? That would be us.
I don't know.
They look like NASCAR drivers.
So I did note you were talking about how difficult it is to kick a football or catch a football or throw a football when it's that cold, sub-zero temperatures. I kind of saw that firsthand watching Arkansas State versus Appalachian State over the weekend. Clune Van Andel missed a PAT. The game ended on a missed kickoff or a missed field goal attempt. I guess the football just becomes a big fat rock, Shane Metlin.
I think it does. It gets hard. When things get cold, they get harder. Like out in the elements. Like it's hard to catch a football. Like it hurts your toe to kick a football. If you've ever gone out and played on a cold afternoon for Thanksgiving, like in the backyard, it's harder to handle a leather oblong ball. It just is.
So there were a lot of games being played.
Jeremy, be sure to cut that audio of Shane, by the way.
Yeah, that can be manipulated.
The hard balls? Yeah, I don't know. There might be some sound effects behind all that when this is said and done. So speaking of bowls, the Sun Belt has its share of 6-6 teams. And looks like they're going to put out about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What am I counting 9 eligible team guys? Did I count that right?
You did.
That's a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And most of our bowl games, if I'm not mistaken, are MAC affiliate. And I think they only have like 7. So that's going to be fun seeing where some of these lie. But a lot of 6-6 teams. Guys, was this just sort of a disappointing year for the Sun Belt in general?
I think we just saw a lot of parity, like really outside of JMU across the Sun Belt. It's disappointing, I think, to some degree that we didn't have, even if you're a JMU fan, for a while there, you were thinking, oh, look at Southern Miss. That could be like a 9 or 10 win team that makes it to the championship game. And that's going to help the resume. And then that just doesn't end up happening. Troy's got a good record, but I think it's the parity of the league. It's guys moving around even within the league, coaches moving around even within the league. Everybody kind of like congregates in the middle, it seems like.
I will say this about the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt has done James Madison no favors when it comes to their quest to getting into the college football playoffs. And I look, there's a lot of data to support this, a lot of numbers. But one thing that stands out to me is how the Sun Belt competed against in-state SEC foes. And I'm talking about Southern Miss versus Mississippi State, Arkansas versus Arkansas State, and Coastal Carolina versus South Carolina. Now, I just named 3 SEC teams that were really bad this season. And all 3 of those SEC teams played fair to middling, pretty good Sun Belt teams, and they curb stomped all 3 of those teams. So there's something about the Sun Belt this year that did not rise to the occasion. And Tibbs, I'm afraid it's going to hurt James Madison.
I think it'll hurt them if you're insinuating that they would not be able to get to the CFP because of the league's inability to have that big marquee win. And I feel like James Madison was the only team that got the marquee win. And so with no one else in the conference carrying their weight, it's going to hurt them. And by proxy, it hurts all of us because I would love to get some coattail money off of James Madison knowing that they're in the CFP. Because it's a couple $100,000 that we're talking about that every member institute would get.
Well, not only that, once you get that foothold in there, then all of a sudden you become part of that conversation in the preseason. Oh, the group of 5 or group of 6 guys came out of the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt must be pretty good. And so, I think everybody is rooting for that rising tide to raise all the ships. I just don't know if it's going to happen. But we talk about bowl games, Thibodeau, and we talked about the 9 teams that got in. What What about the 5 teams that didn't? I mean, you have UL Monroe, surely just a disappointing season. I think if the standard is the standard for Coach Bryant Vincent was, hey, we're going to get to a bowl game this year. Didn't happen. Is Bryant Vincent in some sort of trouble?
No, not at all.
We like
no,
Bryant.
I mean, you look at all the craziness that happened where you were at one point on your 6-string kicker. You had both quarterbacks out. You had a redshirted freshman PWO as your starting quarterback. You lost so many offensive linemen. No, there's no danger of him going anywhere. The season is what it is, right? I mean, we had the high expectations of at least matching last year, going 5-7, but it just didn't help, I think, after even week 2 in that Alabama game, where it really dropped some of the morale of the team. There were some bright, shining moments, like getting the first road non-conference win since 2018 against UTEP, able to get the monkey off our back against Arkansas State.
Yeah.
And then once they had some glimpses of health against Texas State and Louisiana Lafayette, it was a lot different, a lot better of a team. I mean, you look at that closeout game against the Cajuns.
Yeah.
ULM was the better team. They should have won. And if they would have had a kicker, I think that they would have won and spoiled the Cajun season.
You have to have a kicker. That is so true. Shane Metlin, amongst the teams not going to a bowl game this year are 3 teams that generally do go to bowl games. I'm talking about South Alabama, Appalachian State, and Marshall. How do you think the mood of those teams are right now, especially when it comes to coaching positions and fan bases?
I think the mood's not great at any of those places right now. Maybe the best at Marshall. They showed some signs at times. Maybe have gotten, maybe are kind of feeling like they're more on the right track with Tony Gibson coming in there. Guy who really wants to be at Marshall, for one thing. Goes out and gets them a really good quarterback. Maybe the signs are that they're, even coming off a championship season, you lose basically that entire team. Maybe the signs are that you're rebuilding in the right way. You could say similar things for App State, but I don't feel like the mood at App State is the same. I feel like, they're not feeling as good about like their season and missing out on a bowl game. And, maybe they had good opportunities to win 1 or 2 more games and not have to worry about that. South Alabama, I just feel like it seems like a long time ago, and it really wasn't, that Kane Womack was having them in the discussion for a Sun Belt championship, and things just seem to go downhill really fast at South Alabama. And I don't know if Major Applewhite is entirely to blame there, but like the buck has kind of got to stop with him to a degree. It doesn't help to have a coach that good as Kane Womack, and he leaves for an assistant's job. That's not great necessarily for just the vibes around the program, but it's hard to feel too good about anything in South Alabama right now, I would think.
Hey, Dusty, speaking of the Bucks, stopping here, Del McGee, he turns in a 1-11 season, and I'm really seeing some consternation in that fan base. Does he survive?
I don't know if he does, but I don't think it's a fair shake to say he's got to go and that he's the issue. Because if you remember last year, 2024, he really kind of came in during the middle of spring ball. And so 24 was kind of a wash. So you look at it this year, this is really kind of year 1 for him of really trying to right the ship and get the players that he needs in place in order to advance that program. So I know it sucks to be 1-11, 0-8 in the league and really not even that competitive, but let the man cook another year or 2 before you start trying to fire up the U-Haul to get him out of town.
Yeah, I think some of that consternation, some of those doom and gloom feelings might have something to do with the basketball team also struggling bad. That might be a discussion for some other time. But I think what might be pushing some of these conversations It's what's happened at Coastal Carolina, guys. You get a guy like Coach Tim Beck who delivers a 6-6 season, delivers a bowl game opportunity. I believe has done that for 3 straight years, and he's out at Coastal Carolina. They're saying, "Hey, that's not good enough." Shane, is that like a good attitude maybe to have? Should you look at 6-6 and go, "This isn't worth it. This isn't what we're playing for"?
I don't know. I don't know if it's 6-6 or if it's kind of the way they wound up 6-6, where they seem to kind of turn things around mid-season. They were looking really good, and then they just get absolutely crushed in their last 2 games. I mean, granted, you're talking about a road game against an SEC team, and you're talking about against a team that went undefeated in conference play, but still, and just not competitive at all in the last 2 games. It seemed like things. It was a roller coaster at Coastal this year, really. I mean, we had written them off completely early in the season, or I had. I'll take the blame for that. I said they were done. And then they put Samari Collier at quarterback, and they start winning a lot of games. And suddenly they're in the mix for the Sun Belt Championship. Just a few weeks ago, we were talking about, like, if they could beat JMU at home to end the season, they might be in the championship game. And all of a sudden, it's just, without Samari Collier quarterback, they look awful again, and Tim Beck's gone. And it seems like maybe a little bit rash decision to pull trigger on firing him when there was some signs of life when you had that guy at quarterback. But at the same time, we're talking about a program that only a few years ago was nationally ranked. They're getting game day to show up for that BYU game. Right. That was so much success a few years ago. I can see why 6-6 doesn't sit well with people in Conway.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Coastal Carolina and Tim Beck did, there are sins that can be forgiven, like maybe losing to JMU in an environment like that, or what have you. But then there are also some things that aren't forgivable, and losing by a total of 99-7 to regional state rivals like East Carolina and South Carolina. Yes, I know that they're supposed, they might have some advantages that you don't have, but fan bases just don't like that, Tibbs. Fan bases don't like that. So that might have been a contributing factor to losing Tim Beck. What do you think?
When you said there's things that are unforgivable, I immediately had flashing in my mind the whole cheer dance squad and his picture on the beach.
What was unforgivable were they pulling that image from their website, because that image was awesome.
Do we really? I would love to know whose idea that was. Like, I seriously doubt Tim Beck was just like, "Hey, yeah, I got a great idea for a photo we can post online." Somebody had to come to him and say, like, "Here's what we're gonna do," and maybe he should have vetoed it, but like.
Some goofball SID or young social media manager, or maybe even like just the coach of the dance squad was maybe like, "Hey, coach, why don't you come on over?" Seemed like a good idea at the time, but it worked out. So we're talking a little bit about coaches on the hot seat, and we're going to see how that works out. Tim Beck's already gone. A couple assistants from Georgia Southern, also 6-6 team, they're gone. One guy that's definitely gone. And once again, this is a testament to how success is probably the worst thing that can happen to a group of 16. Bob Chesney takes the UCLA job. Shane, was this something that was expected?
I think it was expected for Bob Chesney to be gone at the end of the year. I think it came down to a point where, from what you were hearing, is he, as a Pennsylvania native, was quite interested in the Penn State job. And it was sort of a matter of if Penn State was going to offer or not. He'd always kind of had UCLA in his back pocket. UCLA apparently was the first team to reach out to him this year, or to his agents during the season. Almost as soon as they fired Deshaun Foster, I think their agents had reached out, or their people had reached out to Bob Chesney's agent. So I think he always kind of knew, like, that was sitting there as a possibility. And, also the possibility, like, if neither one of those happened, he could come back to JMU for a pretty healthy raise and probably do it all over again next year with another list of high profile jobs to choose from. So I think there was always maybe a 10% chance he might come back to JMU, just if the timing didn't work out for either one of those. Because I think he was waiting to see what happened with Penn State, to a point where Penn State started focusing on somewhere else, and then it was okay, well, I will take the UCLA.
Kevin Harlan here. This Friday, the NBA on Prime crew and I are back with another spectacular NBA doubleheader. The action starts with one of the best rivalries in sports as Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers take on the Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown. Then Cooper Flagg and the Mavs take on SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It all comes your way this Friday on Prime. And if you're not a Prime member, that's not a problem. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to get started today. The Lakers and Celtics, the Mavs and Thunder. Coverage starts Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
At Lowe's, before the holidays is the perfect time for upgrades and upkeep. During Black Friday, get up to 50% off select major appliances and buy more to save more with up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Plus, grab select DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kits for just $99. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 12/3. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Job, and that's where he's going to end up. And so that's a long-winded way to say yes, this was pretty much expected.
So Tim, we're seeing it all over the Group of Five right now, with the exception of LSU and Kentucky, both kind of going different directions. We're seeing a lot of successful Group of 5/6, however you want to call it, coaches now being poached. Arkansas picks up Silverfield from Memphis. Auburn picks up Golish from North Texas. And of course, UCLA.
South Florida.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What?
South Florida.
What about South Florida? What am I thinking?
That's where Golish is from.
Why did I think he was from North Texas? Who in the hell is from North
They were
Texas?
green. Eric Morris. I forget where he went though.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, he went to Oklahoma. Okay, I got that all confused. That happens. And then, of course, Bob Chesney going to UCLA. We always hear, oh well, the Group of 6/5 just isn't playing good football. They're not worthy of anything. But why is all of our talent getting poached?
Several things. First of all, Shane, have you made sure that Chesney knows that UCLA is in Los Angeles, so he lives up to the expectation that Deshaun Foster set when that was part of his introductory conference, press conference, was I'm from UCLA, we're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I have a feeling Bob will be a little more polished with his press conferences there. Like I think he'll be ready for the bright lights to some degree. It's a little known fact, like Bob Chesney was a reality TV star before he even really got going in his coaching. He was on some show where like it was like, you want to be a rodeo star or something like that. And he did a little like calf roping and steer wrestling and things like that on reality TV as when he was like a real young assistant coach, like getting a few extra bucks. So like he might be ready for the bright lights of LA. Yeah.
So to get back to your question, Jeremy, sorry that I had to get that out of the way. Why are they poaching? I don't understand why they're poaching the coaches, other than maybe that they're able to prove that they can win with less resources. So in theory, if you go to the P4 and we give you the blank check, you should be able to replicate that same success. Mm-hmm. On the player front, with all the players going, there's so many players out there that I think guys just get missed. And the G6 has become the minor leagues where they can go out
so true.
And the showcase to see what they missed and then go out there with their bucket of money that they have because their P4 schools say, I'm sorry that I missed you on the first time around. Would you please accept this rose and come to us?
Another reality TV reference from Funbelt Podcast. So, guys, I the only coach that I hear might be moving or might get some interest could be Coach Charlie Huff from Southern Miss. His name has been bandied about from Memphis, which that would be a total money upgrade for sure. They do have limitless funds. Shane, is there a front runner for JMU right now, or is it still just a big old cyclone right now?
No, I don't know that there's a front runner at this point. One thing to keep in mind is Jeff Bourne, JMU's previous AD, who retired about a year and a half ago. He had an MO. We knew what he was looking for in a head coach like that. He had pretty much decided he wanted somebody who had been a winning head coach, maybe at a lower level, but who had a lot of experience as a head coach and shown they could win. Knowing that last time around, Bob Chesney was on everybody's list of like potential JMU hires from the very beginning. Like everybody was like, oh yeah, they're probably going to look at Bob Chesney. And so it was like no surprise that like he emerged as a top candidate pretty quickly. Matt Rohn, the new AD, who was pretty much chosen by Bourne. So we'll say that he probably has similar philosophies on a lot of things, but he's never made a coach, a hire like this. He's never hired a football coach, never hired a basketball coach, even previous stops. So we don't know. Is he more open to maybe a Power 5 assistant coach or more open to, somebody who or keeping it in-house? Like a guy like Colin Hitchler, JMU's defensive coordinator, really impressed a lot of people this year. Like, would he be more interested in keeping it in-house with a current assistant or bringing back somebody who has JMU ties like Brian Haynes at Indiana, whose defense is there incredible and maybe wants to become a head coach? I don't know if Rohn is more open to that than Bourne was. Bourne, it was like, okay, you can pretty much make a list of 5 really good FCS coaches, and that's probably who they're looking at. I honestly don't know what direction Rohn's going to go in. We'll hopefully find out more in the next couple of days about that.
Yeah, that'll be a fascinating thing to watch. So a lot of things going on with football. Still waiting for bowl selections, which I guess will come out next week after the championship games. Big championship game for the Sun Belt on Friday, 8 o'clock God's time on ESPN. You got to sit down and watch that because it's going to be a good game. Maybe some coaching moves, maybe some more firings, maybe some more moving ons. We don't know. And that's how the football season kind of comes to the close, which opens the door to volleyball, right? Arkansas State, they win the championship. They're going to the big NCAA tournament. I believe they open up with Baylor on Thursday. I know you guys will be on pins and needles watching. Shane, I'm sorry I didn't do my research. Did any other Sun Belt team make it? I know that both James Madison and Texas State did seem to have some RPI numbers.
I don't think anybody else made it. They were maybe somewhat on the bubble, but it wasn't as deep. We can go back a couple of years ago. I think there was like 4 Sun Belt teams.
Yeah.
NCAA tournament. It wasn't like that this year. I know JMU had a pretty long winning streak during the season and surged a little bit RPI, but they just didn't win their games early against some of those teams that could have really boosted their resume.
Yeah, I went and watched that championship game. Well, I didn't win. I watched it on TV. James Madison versus Arkansas State. Great volleyball, fun to watch. Always stressful. Shane, we talked about this before. Volleyball stressful because it resets every new set, right? So you can lose, 25-3 in one, and then it starts all over. It's brand new. So it was a fun watch. But guys, what's really big right now, what the big opening, we're all talking about the postseason for football, and that's always going to be something to talk about. But right now, basketball is about to enter front stage, right? They're about to get behind the podium. The out of conference is almost over. We've got a couple more games coming up. I know Arkansas State plays tonight, but we've had enough data, all of us here on this stage, the Fun Belt podcast stage, to kind of see where the Sun Belt is shaping up. Tips, what are your initial observations of men's basketball this year?
It is the haves and the have-nots.
Okay, go on. Explain.
You have overall South Alabama once again with their D2 squad that Richie Riley has put together and is surging. Yeah, exactly. And then you have the bottom half that really a little bit surprised that Quannas White hasn't been more successful with the Cajuns, sitting at 1-7, losing to, I think it was Jackson State the other night. More surprising, Georgia State, the fact that they're at the bottom as well at 1-7. The other thing that I've really noticed, no one can play on the road. The winning record is not there for the conference, with at least 8 teams having not won a game this year on the road.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, if you look at the net standings, which is on our list to talk about, the net standings came out, I guess, Monday, the first set, and you don't see anybody from the Sun Belt as a sub 100. Well, usually you look at the net, and at this time of the year, you got 2 or 3 Sun Belt programs that are hovering below 100. That goes up as the season goes on because Sun Belt play begins. Shane Netlin. Should we be terribly concerned about this?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's not good, but the Sun Belt's not going to get 2 bids in this year regardless. So I don't know how much it matters. I guess it could be the difference between being like a 13 seed and a 14 seed once they get into the NCAA tournament, and maybe that game being a little more winnable. But at this point, just people in the Sun Belt aren't able to schedule in a way that lets you boost your net. Look at Troy. I think right now it looks to me like this conference is going to go through those Alabama schools. South Alabama's got a really good record. Troy, I think, has been really impressive, even though their record is not great. Their travel has been insane. They basically spent like most of November on the West Coast in California because they couldn't get games anywhere east of the Rockies. They go out there and like just doing this insane travel, playing, I think it was Fresno State one night and then San Diego State the next. They beat a good San Diego State team and multiple overtimes, then take USC to multiple overtimes, like a night or two left. Later. But then they're playing an early morning game in Florida, like a couple days later in their MTE tournament. Their travel is just crazy. And I talked to Scott Cross in the summer about their scheduling. He was actually mad because New Orleans canceled a game that was supposed to be in Troy this year. They just paid a $25,000 buyout to then take $100,000 to go play at some power conference school. And even with buying their way out of the Troy game, they still made $75,000. He's like, we're never going to have that in a contract again. It's always going to be at least $100,000 to buy your way out of one of our games, from now on. But that's just the scheduling that people are dealing with. And if you're going to go travel like that, you're not going to have a good non-conference record. You're not going to have a good net. And I don't know what you do about it if you're a Sun Belt, because you're not getting teams to come play you at home, like just for the most part.
Yeah, that's a bit of a travesty. I was amused by Arkansas State's travel schedule, which was ridiculous. But how many of the teams we played that had played 5, 6, 7 games, and all of them had been at home? Like St. Mary's, SMU, a couple of the others. I was like, how do you get the situation where you never leave your home? That is nuts. I will say this. It does harden you for conference play. It does hone you to become a much more hard-nosed, grittier team when you do that. So maybe we'll see some good conference play. Shane, is there anybody besides South Alabama who, quite frankly, they haven't played a great schedule? Is there anybody that's just standing out to you right now?
Not really. I mean, I've been a little bit impressed. I think Georgia Southern, I think they're heading in the right direction just as a program. Their record's not like great, but they're competitive compared to a couple of years ago when they were not winning any conference games. So I'll give them some props. JMU looks very similar to last year, where it's like up and down in non-conference, and maybe they're hardening themselves for the conference race, and maybe they can give those Alabama schools a run for their money. But like right now, I really do think it's going to be between Troy and South Alabama for that regular season title.
You know, Tibbs, one school that I'm kind of looking at and going, well, all right, they have the second best net in the league, even though I think they're hovering at about 500. And that's the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Two of the conference's leading scorers, Tyleek Weeks and Isaac Taveras, which, by the way, two guys I've never heard of because, quite frankly, you've heard of nobody in the Sun Belt these days because they didn't come from the Sun Belt. They're the ones leading the league in scoring. Do you think maybe we might see a resurgence in the Southern Miss Golden Eagles?
No, they've played nobody. I mean, they beat Tougaloo 93-57. Do you know what Tougaloo is? No, you don't. I do, and I assure you that is not amongst the G6, the mid-majors, the low mid-majors, or anybody in between. Talk to me after they make trips to Miami, they play Ole Miss, and then they start dipping into the conference race. Then we'll see if they are the legit Golden Eagles like we expect there, or as you imply that they are.
I'm just looking at the net. To me, the net is the ultimate indicator of whether or not a team is good or bad, right, Shane Netland?
Yeah, maybe not at this point in the year. I didn't even notice, like, there was a fan on Twitter who's usually like one of the big Southern Miss defenders, and I like this guy on Twitter, but like usually like always coming to Southern Miss's defense. Even he like looked at the net and he was like, "How is Southern Miss like?"
I didn't either. I don't know, And then I'm kind of looking at where the Sun Belt could have had more success. Both Texas State and Louisiana, they had their chance. They fell by single digits to Tulane. You got that 1-point loss to USC that Troy should have been able to pull out. There's some other opportunities for the Sun Belt to get marquee wins. It's just not happening. I hope that last year we kept saying, oh, well, this is a step back year for the Sun Belt. I'm hoping this is not a step even further back year for the Sun Belt. Guys, I know that you guys have your fingers on the pulse of this. I wish I had a better finger on the pulse, but how is Sun Belt women's basketball shaping up?
Better than the men.
Oh, okay.
Much better.
Go on. They're getting some good wins. JMU just won 3 in a row. Virginia Tech, Boston College is pretty bad in the ACC, but they're still in the ACC. And Wisconsin, maybe middle of the road Big Ten type team. So we'll see if any of those teams end up doing something in their conference and boosting that. Troy beat Missouri earlier this year. Yeah, really. So they're both top 60-ish teams in net. I don't know where Troy sits today, but I know Jamie was 56th as of today. Troy was not very far behind. So somewhat of a possibility those two teams could like maybe work their way up a little bit if their non-conference schedule plays well in their own conference. But the sad thing is they don't play each other in the regular season, so they don't get to like boost each other's nets by playing. So we'll see how it ends up working out.
I did see
Raging
that.
Cajuns
Gone.
on the struggle bus. Sorry to cut you off there. They took a beat down at Texas, lost at Nichols in a close game. Another close loss at Memphis. They haven't broken into the win column yet, and I don't know if they necessarily will when they have some tough games up ahead against a Morehead State team that is a pretty good team coming in to Lafayette later this week before hitting the road for 2 Sunbelt Conference action. Can't believe it's already here.
Yeah,
they play at Texas State, at Southern Miss.
Yeah, that's really cool. You know, as far as your defending champion Arkansas State Red Wolves, they did beat Houston. I think they won the Bahamas tournament that they were just in, so they're getting some winning ways. But Shane Metlin, I will tell you that they are missing some height. They are in desperate need of the big Russians that you guys always seem to have at James Madison. Just one would be great. They played UCA the other day, got beat by UCA because UCA had the three women who were at least 6'2" and over. Arkansas State just does not have that size. If that 3-point isn't landing, they're not winning. So I don't know if Arkansas State has that same magic again this year. Is there any other team out there, Tibbs or Shane, besides James Madison or Troy, that might come out of the woodwork?
Southern Miss looking decent with Missy Building-Back going over there. Coastal Carolina is like up there in the net, which is a little bit surprising. They lost a lot of their players, but we'll see how they end up doing once conference play starts.
Tibbs, I think that takes us to the most popular segment of the show.
Fart noises.
No.
Making fun of Shane Metlin.
Yeah.
And planning to take over the world.
Definitely making fun of Shane Metlin. I believe it's something that you like to call plugs, promos, and parting shots. Why don't we have music or a sound cue for that? We need to work on that, Tibbs. Maybe we'll do that.
We need to do some show improvements for the new year, Jeremy.
Just a list of improvements? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Tibbs, why don't you give us a plug, promo, or parting shot?
WarhawkReport.com working on breaking down the top 25 moments of 2025 for ULM Warhawks. First set of the series has dropped. Go check it out. Every week we'll be putting more out there. Missed you guys. Ready to get us back on our normal cadence.
Oh, I missed you. I missed you, Tibbs. And I missed you too, Shane. Shane, what I especially missed are your penetrating parting shots, promos, or plugs.
I'm going to plug today, because I told my boss I would, that, we kind of relaunched our Purple and Bold podcast that talks about sports, me and Katie Harper. And it's on a new channel. It's DNR Media. So if you are subscribed to that before, I want you to do a little search on your Spotify or your Apple Podcasts or your YouTube for DNR Media and subscribe there. You're going to get Purple and Bold every week, maybe multiple times a week if there's crazy stuff like coaching searches going on. And, we'll also have some other shows. There's one called Postscript that we did the other day where I interviewed Katie and we're going to talk to a journalist in the DNR newsroom about a story they worked on and how they came about doing that, why they chose the topic, who they interviewed, if anything weird happened in the writing process or anything like that. So that's what it was, a little shorter show. We're going to have a lot more news, entertainment stuff to go along with sports. So it's a podcast channel feed from the Daily News Record. It's DNR Media. That's my other show that I do along with this one with these two knuckleheads. So listen to both, subscribe to both. Subscribe to the Fun Belt Podcast, subscribe to DNR Media. That's my plug for today.
That's a perfect plug for some journalism there. By the way, for Thanksgiving, my niece was like, "Hey guys, did you know did you know Uncle Jeremy has a podcast? And everyone's like, no. And then I had to describe it. So anyway, we might have some more listeners thanks to that sudden plug from my niece. Thank you. I guess I got a parting shot. I was thinking about Lane Kiffin, who has nothing really to do with the Sun Belt and all his brouhaha between him and LSU and the fans. That's all in the SEC. It really doesn't affect me directly, except for this, that maybe now that this has happened to a program in the SEC where a coach is poached, given more money, and when Ole Miss sees that all their recruits vanish, when Ole Miss sees that all their star players are suddenly wearing purple and yellow, when Ole Miss fans see that the entirety of their program has shifted away from Oxford and to Baton Rouge, and everybody's applauding what a great move it is, while they sit there and have to rebuild again from scratch, just like every group of 6 team has had to do the last 15 years because they've been doing it to us. Now maybe, just one time, and I actually saw a New York Times article that had touched on this today, we'll finally say, hey, wait a second. Maybe all this shifting around, this blatant use of money to poach players, to poach coaches, maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's unfair. Because, oh my God, it's happening to Ole Miss. It's happening to Hotty Toddy. Oh, the party at the Grove. What about that? Let me tell you something. You now got screwed, like the rest of us have been getting screwed. But now maybe somebody will notice. And that's my parting shot.
I'm glad he kind of saved all that up for us there, Shane.
Yeah.
It was a release that I really needed. Now I'm going to go take a nap.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.